on May 1st, I started a test comparing selling 5,000 bulk cards on eBay versus selling 5,000 bulk Pokemon cards on TCG Player. And it's been about 5 to 6 weeks now. We're getting ready to start week 6. So it's been 5 full weeks. And we're going over the week 5 results in this video. And I'm going to also be talking about my next steps as far as what I'm doing on eBay versus what I'm doing on TCG Player based on how everything is kind of laying out. So eBay sales this week weren't that great, and we're going to kind of talk about that. One of the things I did is I saw things really slowing down, so I put a store discount on of 10%. That meant that everything in my store, $5 and less, the price was automatically 10% off. So that's going to be reflective on some of these sales here. So if the card was $199, it automatically dropped that down. So we sold a Pikachu from Evolutions, lightly played, $1.89. Our net on that, now that did be a promoted listing, so our net on that was 30 cents. A Field Sky from Roaring Skies. Somebody made an offer for $1.50. I went ahead and accepted it. So we only netted 6 cents on that sale, but we were able to move that card. Ambipom from Pokemon Go. This was not a reverse foil. This was just the regular non-foil card. $1.79. So we netted 31 cents on that one. Slowpoke from Paldea Evolved. $1.79. We netted 31 cents on that one. I do want to mention throughout the week, closer to the end of the week, I did turn off permitted listings, and we basically ran the discount all the way up to the end of the week. So that's why you're only seeing a couple permitted listings ones here. I ran this till like Friday, and we only kind of had 2 permitted listing sales. I went ahead and just turned it off. And then that was actually it for the head-to-head test. I did include some other reverse holos we sold to kind of help offset the subscription costs there. So we sold a Ninetales reverse from Surging Sparks for $189, Charmander reverse from Pokemon Go for $179, Rocket Zapdos from the Celebrations Classic Collection for $449, and an Ivysaur reverse holo from Pokemon Go for $1.50. So that $1.50, that's kind of the lowest that I'll go on any sale. And so that nets me about 6 cents profit on those. Now let's talk about TCG Player. There was a lot more on TCG Player, as you can see from this listing here. Still not a whole lot of orders, but we did move some cards. So we moved a Toxtricity from Rebel Clash. And that one we actually netted 21 cents on. And then somebody came in and bought Psyduck, Misty Psyduck, Team Rocket's Mimikyu, Jinx, Gengar, Ghastly, Blipbug, another Psyduck, Snorlax, Jinx, another Psyduck. So all of these were in the same order, and you can kind of see what we netted on each of those cards respectively here. And then somebody ordered just a single Kubfu from Chilling Reign, and so we ended up netting 17 cents on that card because it was the only thing they bought, and they paid $1.49 on the shipping. So that definitely helped out there. Moving down the list, somebody came in and they bought Air Balloon, a bunch of Buddy Buddy Poffins, Karkanaw, Battle Cage, Totodile. So these were all part of one order, and you can see we basically netted either 9 cents or 12 cents on each of those individual cards in that order. And then somebody came in and bought a bunch of Pikachus and Eevees and Noctows in order, and you can kind of see what we netted on those as well. And then somebody bought 2 Umbreons from Obsidian Flames. We netted 26 cents each on those. That's an uncommon, non-holo. And then somebody bought a Roaring Skies Meowth, and we netted 32 cents on that one. And then somebody came in and bought a big Pikachu order, like 7 151 Pikachus and an Evolving Skies Pikachu. You can kind of see the Evolving Skies, we netted 8 cents, and the 151s we netted 10 cents on. So those were all the orders this week. Let's take a look at the overall numbers on how everything is now stacking up. So we've got, you can kind of see week 5 here. We netted less than $1 on all 4 of those eBay sales aggregated together. Where on TCG Player, well, yes, it was 54 cards. It was a lot more cards. We netted $6.41. You can kind of see here that our average per card now is around 12 cents a card on TCG Player, where it's sitting about 25 cents a card over on eBay. Moving down the list, this is where things get interesting. So basically what we're looking at is on TCG Player, we've made over $59 so far. On eBay, we've made $44.15. However, because we are in a new month now, we had to pay our store subscription fee, once again, of $28. So even though we were in the positive last month on eBay, we are now in the negative. And we're actually in the negative by 20%. So this means that TCG Player is currently outperforming eBay by 120%. And you can kind of see, because of that, just to kind of be even, we make another $12 in sales just to kind of cover what the subscription fees would cost. You can kind of see that over here. So our target for this lot was, or for these 10,000 cards, was 406. So far, we've sold 291. However, we have that $56 in those eBay fees. So our profit, which we're still in the negative by $171, which still isn't bad after 5 weeks. But had we sold these on eBay, let's assume we got the same net for these cards on TCG Player. If we clear out that, you can see we now would only be in the whole $115 that we would be looking to make back in order to break even on that lot. We would have basically made back 72% of what we spent. However, because we have that, we've only made back 158%. So we're still 42% negative GP on this. But you can kind of see the projection. It's still, after 3 months, we're still projected to be in the profit. However, you can kind of see how much eBay has been diminishing returns. So the first, those first couple days, we made $13. Then that first full week, we made $10. And then that second full week, we made $13. But then the third full week, we only made $3. The fourth full week, we made less than $3. And in the fifth full week, we made less than $1. So that is diminishing. Now, over on the TCG Player side, you can see we started at 7 and went 4, 4, 4. So this was relatively consistent here, even the 6. Now, this was the week of Mayhem. So we had a little bit increased sales this week, which obviously is accounting for that. But you can see how consistent the sales are over here. And so this is one of the things that I am taking into account. The other thing I want to kind of talk about is the net average per card. You can kind of see we're looking at, this is across the board, we're looking at 15 cents per card on TCG Player. eBay, if we don't factor in the store fee, we're 59 cents per card. However, once we factor in the store fee, we're negative 16 cents per card on average. So what am I doing once I kind of wrap this test up? Well, I've made the decision that I want to basically move all of my inventory back over to TCG Player, with a couple exceptions. So basically, over the span of the next couple weeks, I'm going to do a little bit batches each day, probably take like one set each day. And I'm going to scan those all in, convert them over to TCG Player, and delist them from eBay. These are going to be the non-holos that were in this bulk lot. And then I'm still going to keep track of these sales. We're still going to see when we can break even on these 10,000 cards. However, it's no longer really going to be a eBay versus TCG player test. It's going to be more of, how long does it take us to make the money back? We're still going to, keep some of these on eBay. The lightly played cards that were in the lot, those are going to remain on eBay. I prefer to have those over there just because they have pictures, and there are some like Evolutions cards. There's some XY and Sun and Moon era cards that were in that lot. So we're going to leave those over there. Reverse foils, for now, the ones that are listed on eBay, we're going to leave them on eBay. If they don't sell, within probably the next month, we'll say, probably by the end of June, we will start moving those over to TCG Player, because I've been getting a lot of sales for reverse holos on TCG Player and minimal sales on eBay, apart from the Pokemon Go ones. So Pokemon Go is going to be the very last thing I move over from a holo and reverse holo standpoint, just because those seem to be kind of the only ones that are really selling over on eBay. Now, I'm not going to eliminate eBay completely. However, my goal is to eliminate the store subscription. So I want to get it to a point where I can list 150 items a month, which is what I can list for free without needing to pay anything. So we're going to be very selective on what we do. I do have a couple graded cards listed there. We're going to keep those there. The TCG cards, like I said, lightly played. We'll still have a buffer there. Any higher end duplicates that we may pull, we'll be able to list over there if we want to. But my goal is to get consistent sales and consistent, what I call revenue. If you guys aren't aware, and I've briefly talked about this in past videos, but I don't run a business per se. I sell duplicates, and then I use those funds to acquire more singles, to basically build out my binder collections, and some other hobbies that I have. So for me, I like the trickle-in effect of those consistent sales. I like the payment structure that I have with TCG Player. I like where I'm sitting right now. I get, between $50 and $100 every payout. So twice a week, I'm getting about that $200 a week or so. It fluctuates $100 to $200 a week. And then I can use that to kind of DCA into other singles. So I like the consistent trickle in. And so versus the sporadic, I might get a bunch early on and then I get less later on, and then it's diminishing returns. So I'm not really going out. I'm not buying collections. I'm not a reseller per se. I am more so just looking to build out my collection and using TCG Player and these other platforms as a means to sell off duplicates, sell off unwanted cards, and eventually trickle those in. So I don't mind getting, 5 cents, 6 cents here or there, because, I do box breaks, things like that. It all adds up, and over time, it allows me to trickle into that. And we're in a booming market right now, so I actually don't like buying cards right now. I like selling them and getting those consistent sales so that when the bear market inevitably hits, I'll be able to DCA into a lot of cards that might be in the couple $100 range now will probably be in the $75 to $100 range. So that's kind of my plan. The other thing that I am doing that is also a big driving factor on this is I'm getting close to completing my Yu-Gi-Oh collection. So I'm currently about 216 cards left to complete my Yu-Gi-Oh set. When I do this, so for you guys, if you don't know, I collect Pokemon, I collect Yu-Gi-Oh, both binder collectors. And once I complete the Yu-Gi-Oh side of things, my plan is to kind of get back into retro gaming. So long history. I'm not going to go over it in this video, but I used to be one of the biggest retro game collectors in the world. And unfortunately, tornado hit my house. I lost everything back in 2018 for the most part. And I'm basically starting from scratch on the retro gaming side. So I want to start delving into that a little bit more as well. With that comes buying, retro game lots and selling off. Maybe there's duplicates in there that I'm going to sell off, or systems that I don't want that I might be selling off in those lots. I want to reserve eBay for those types of listings versus being a true TCG store. So that is kind of where I'm coming from on why I'm trying to pivot away from doing the TCG sales on that. A lot of it's going to be in preparation for me to start back on like the retro game collecting journey. And again, I'm still going to be doing TCG on this channel. This is my collection channel, so I will be covering the retro gaming collection as well. Again, I'm going to be starting from scratch with that. And I'm probably going to be leveraging like some monthly subscription boxes, things like that, and letting those games trickle in a couple times a month. And then I might also be buying some lots on the side, trickling in. Kind of my goal right now is to complete my Yu-Gi-Oh set by the end of the year. You can see there's about $1,600 worth of cards that I still need to acquire, 216 total cards. Once this is done, then we're going to start on that retro game collecting journey again, kind of getting all of my storage, kind of my setup at home all set up. So I have a spot to store my retro games, do content on those. All of that will be covered on this channel. But it kind of gives you an idea, though, of why I want my eBay store to kind of be still left open. I don't want it to become strictly a TCG eBay store, and I don't want to open a second store for that. I just want to have a personal eBay account, which I have now, that I can sell things that I want to sell on, and then use those funds to maybe acquire other stuff that I want in my collecting and hobby journeys. So that is essentially what we're going to be doing over the course of the next month. I don't want to, when July hits, I don't want to have to pay that eBay subscription fee again. So some of this is going to ride. I'm hoping to get this back into the positive. But we're going to be moving those over to over to TCG Player rather. And then we are still going to be tracking this. So we're going to leave, obviously, the fees that we've already had to pay in the calculation. But at this point, we're looking to make back another $171 to see if we can break even on this lot. And based on, that projection, even this is showing obviously $280 a day, might be a little bit high, because of the mayhem week, a little bit skewed there on the average, but we're still looking to have that 3-month projection here of 235 plus the simulated buy. So that basically puts us at 422 after 3 months. Again, we're 6 weeks in, so we're halfway there. And so if we can make back that 42%, that $171, we will be on a good track. And I may consider doing some other bulk comparison videos in the future. I know some people have asked about maybe comparing Yu-Gi-Oh, like a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh cards versus a lot of something else like Lurkana or Universus, or maybe Riftbound, any of those other common games. I probably won't do Lurkana. I've had Lurkana on my store for a very long time, like a year, 10% under market, and in the past 6 months, I've only sold like 5 cards. So definitely not going to do Lurkana, but may consider doing some other games. I am doing that Foundations Jumpstart. I did a box break on, and I talked about this in my last video, but I did box break on Jumpstart, and I've already made back, in 2 days, I've made back 30%. of the cost. So we're doing really good on that, on trying to break even on that. I'm not necessarily tracking that. I am personally tracking it. I'm not going to be tracking it in videos, but that is another thing that we're tracking as well. So if there's any type of head-to-head comparisons you guys would like to see, please drop them in the comments below, and I'll consider doing them once we break even on this lot.